Listen closely. Don't look away. Don't brush this off like it's another fleeting moment in your life. This right here, is the moment everything changes. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. You've been living in the shadows for too long, haven't you? Hiding behind excuses, burying yourself in doubts, shackled by fears they convinced you to carry. But let me tell you something. Today is different. Today is the day you stop running. You feel that weight pressing on your chest, don't you? The heaviness of living a life that feels borrowed, hollow, a life shaped by what they wanted you to be. They said you couldn't do it. They said you weren't enough. And maybe, somewhere along the way, you started to believe them. Maybe you thought it was easier to shrink than to stand tall, easier to blend in than to fight back. But let me ask you this. How much longer are you going to let them win? You wake up every day with the same gnawing thought in the back of your mind. What if they're right? What if you really are too weak, too broken, too far gone? But here's the thing they never told you. They fear you. Yes, you. Not the broken version they tried to shape, but the unyielding force you're capable of becoming. And the only thing standing between who you are and who you could be is a decision. So I'll ask you again, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of failure? Of rejection? Of proving them right? Or is it something deeper? Maybe, just maybe, you're afraid of your own power. You're afraid of what would happen if you stopped doubting yourself for once. If you stood up, looked them in the eye, and said, no more. Because let's be honest, power is terrifying. Owning your strength means you can't hide anymore. It means taking responsibility, facing the world head on, and stepping into a version of yourself they never wanted to see. Do you even know the power that's buried inside you? Do you feel it? Trembling in your chest, clawing at the edges of your doubt, begging to be set free? Or have you buried it so deep under fear and pain that you've forgotten it's even there? Let me remind you, it's there. It's always been there. But you've been keeping it locked away, haven't you? You've convinced yourself that the world is safer if you stay small, that they won't notice you if you stay quiet, that you won't fail if you never try. But that's the lie, isn't it? That's the illusion they've fed you to keep you tame. Because the truth is, the moment you step into your power, the moment you claim what's always been yours, they lose. Today isn't about pretending anymore. It isn't about waiting for someone to come along and save you. No one is coming. No one's gonna knock on your door, hand you a sword and say, here's your chance to fight back. No, this is on you. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because when you rise, you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't charity. It wasn't handed to you. It was you. Your grit. Your strength. Your refusal to stay down. So here's the deal. You have two choices right now. You can keep walking through life like a ghost, haunting the corners of your own potential. Or you can decide, right here, right now, that today is the day everything changes. Today is the day you stop being afraid and start becoming their greatest fear. They're not afraid of who you were. They're not afraid of who you are right now. They're afraid of what you could become. Do you understand that? They've always been afraid of your potential. That's why they tried to break you. That's why they whispered those doubts into your ear. Why they whispered those walls around you. They were politicized. They were tarnished by entrapping gambling. That's why they tried to doggle everyone. They weren't trying to protect you. They were trying to contain you. But containment doesn't work forever, does it? Today is the day you break free. Today is the day you remind them, and yourself, what happens when someone like you stops hiding. When someone like you starts fighting. Because here's the truth. They can't stop you. Not if you decide to rise. Not if you refuse to back down. This isn't just a speech. This isn't just words. This is a challenge. A call to action. A demand for you to wake up and see yourself for what you really are. You are not weak. You are not small. You are not broken. You are becoming. And when they see you standing tall, unshaken, unafraid, they'll realize the truth. They'll see that their worst nightmare has come to life. The person they tried to keep down, the one they underestimated, has become something unstoppable, something undeniable. You've spent your whole life fearing them, but after today, they'll be the ones fearing you. So, what's it going to be? Blizzard MPD, will you stay in their shadow, or will you step into your light? Will you let them win, or will you show them what happens when someone refuses to stay broken? Your transformation begins now. You know the weight I'm talking about, don't you? The one that presses down on your chest before you even open your eyes in the morning. It's heavy, suffocating, like the world is daring you to fight back. But all you can manage is another breath, another step, another day of wearing the mask, pretending you're fine when inside you're unraveling. You feel invisible, don't you? Like you could scream at the top of your lungs and no one would turn their head. Like you've been reduced to background noise in a world that only hears the loud, the confident, the unbroken. But you're not loud. You've learned to shrink yourself, to disappear into the shadows, because it feels safer there. out of sight, out of mind, out of harm's way. And yet, the harm finds you anyway. You've been betrayed before, haven't you? By the people who promised they'd stay, who swore they'd hold you up, only to let go when you needed them most. Maybe it was a friend, a lover, a parent, someone who should have been your anchor but turned into the storm instead. They left you standing there, shattered, wondering if you'd ever trust again. Or maybe it's the failure that keeps you up at night, the goals you didn't reach, the opportunities you missed, the risks you didn't take because the fear was louder than the dream. And now, when you close your eyes, all you can see are the could-have beens and the should-have beens, swirling around you like ghosts. It feels like drowning, doesn't it? Like you're gasping for air in a sea of expectations, reaching for a lifeline that never comes. You've tried to keep your head above water, but no one sees how hard you're struggling. No one knows how close you are to letting go. Your dreams, they're not dreams anymore. They're shards of glass scattered on the floor, too sharp to hold, too painful to leave behind. So you step around them, pretending they don't matter, convincing yourself they were never really yours to begin with. But deep down, you know the truth. Those dreams are still calling your name, even if your hands are too scarred to reach for them. And then there's the fear. Oh, the fear. It's there, isn't it? Whispering in the back of your mind. What if you're not enough? What if you fail? What if they laugh? What if you try and it all falls apart? So you stay where it's safe. You stay where it's quiet. You stay small because small feels manageable. Small feels secure. Small feels like control. But here's the truth. Small is exactly what they want you to be. Let's talk about them. The villains in your story. The ones who told you that you'd never make it. Who fed you those lies about your worth. Maybe it was that teacher who said you weren't smart enough. Or the boss who made you feel replaceable. Or the so-called friend who only stuck around when it benefited them. Maybe it was someone closer. Someone whose voice still echoes in your mind, cutting you down even when they're no longer around. Or maybe the villain isn't out there at all. Maybe it's inside you. Fear, doubt, insecurity. They've been whispering in your ear for years, haven't they? Telling you that you're too broken, too weak, too damaged to ever be anything more. They thrive on your hesitation. They grow stronger every time you second-guess yourself, every time you give up before you even begin. And the thing about villains, whether they're external or internal, is that they all have the same goal: to keep you small, to keep you afraid, to keep you from realizing the truth. Because if you ever realized the truth, they'd lose their power over you. Do you see it now? The game they've been playing? Every cruel word, every manipulative action, every whispered doubt. They weren't random. They weren't accidental. They were deliberate, calculated. They wanted you to believe that you were powerless, that you'd never rise above the role they assigned to you. But here's the thing about villains. They're terrified of heroes. They fear the day you wake up and see them for what they really are. Illusions, lies, smoke and mirrors designed to keep you from claiming your power. They fear the moment you stop listening to their voices and start listening to your own. And let me tell you something, that moment is coming. I know you don't feel strong right now. I know you don't feel capable or confident or ready to fight back. But strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's simply getting out of bed when everything inside you is screaming to stay down. Scurry, that was You've been strong all along. You just didn't know it. Because here's the truth. Every time they tried to break you, you survived. Every time they told you that you weren't enough, you kept going. Every time fear whispered in your ear, you took another step forward, even if it was small. Even if it felt like crawling. And if you've made it this far, what's stopping you from going further? So here's my question for you. How much longer are you going to let them define your story? Which means, and just for clarity, that even if it was small, even if it was different, how much longer are you going to let the villains call the shots? Because I promise you, the day you decide to stand up, to fight back, to rewrite your narrative, that's the day they'll remember. That's the day you stop being small. That's the day you stop being afraid. That's the day you become their greatest fear. And that day, it's closer than you think. How long have you been carrying it? That weight, that unbearable, unrelenting heaviness that clings to you like a second skin. It's been so long, hasn't it? So long that you've stopped noticing how much it's crushing you. You move through your days as if it's normal, as if dragging this invisible burden is just what life is. But deep down you know the truth. This isn't living, this is existing. Barely. Every day feels the same, doesn't it? You wake up, if you even slept at all, and you go through the motions. Your feet hit the ground, your body moves, but your heart, it's just there. Beating because it has to, not because it wants to. It feels hollow, doesn't it? Like a drum that's been beaten one too many times, left echoing a rhythm that doesn't belong to you anymore. Some people call that Larry, doesn't it, Mike? Doody! And your mind, Oh, your mind. It's a battlefield, isn't it? A relentless war between what you want to believe about yourself and the lies that have taken root over the years. They tell you you're not enough, that you'll never make it, that you'll never be whole. And the worst part, you're starting to believe them. You've been fighting this battle for so long that you've forgotten what peace feels like. Forgotten what it feels like to breathe without the weight of the world on your chest. Forgotten what it feels like to wake up and look forward to something. Anything. There are moments, fleeting as they are, where you wonder if this is just how it's meant to be. If this emptiness, this pain, this endless cycle of disappointment is all there is. If maybe you're one of the unlucky ones. The ones who don't get a happy ending. But let me tell you something. That's a lie. It's a lie you've been told so many times by so many people that it started to sound like the truth. But it's not, it never was. You've been carrying this weight for so long it feels like it's part of you, like it's woven into your very being. But it's not. It's not who you are, it's what they gave you, what the world gave you, what pain and fear and doubt handed to you and said, here, this is yours now. And every day you keep carrying it, every day you let it define you, is another day they win. Because that's what they want, isn't it? They want you to stay stuck, to believe that this is all you'll ever be. They want you to think that the scars, the failures, the betrayals, they've broken you beyond repair. They want you to give up. And maybe, just maybe, you've thought about it. Maybe you've stood on the edge of that thought, staring into the abyss of what it would mean to stop fighting, to stop hoping, to stop dreaming. But you didn't. Do you know how I know that? Because you're still here. You're still breathing, still standing, still fighting. Even if it doesn't feel like it, even if you think you've already lost. Let me tell you something about despair. It's a liar, a master of illusions. It wraps itself around you like a fog, making you believe there's no way out, no light, no hope. But despair doesn't tell you the whole story. Because here's the truth. The weight you're carrying isn't yours to keep. The pain you're feeling isn't a life sentence. The emptiness you've been drowning in isn't the end of your story. But nothing will change unless you decide to let it. And I know that's not what you want to hear. I know you want someone to swoop in and fix it all, to save you from the darkness, to pull you out of the hole you've been stuck in for so long. But no one is coming. And maybe that's a good thing. Because if no one is coming to save you, that means you don't have to wait. You don't have to hope for someone else to give you permission to rise. You can do it on your own. Do you know what that makes you? Dangerous. Because when you decide to save yourself, when you decide to stop waiting and start fighting, you become unstoppable. But before you can rise, you have to confront the hard, ugly truth that you've been avoiding. The truth that staying where you are, staying in the pain, the fear, the doubt, it's not just hurting you, it's killing you. Slowly, quietly, piece by piece. Every day you stay down is another day they win. Another day you lose. Another day your potential slips further out of reach. But it doesn't have to be that way. Because here's the thing about despair. It's a turning point, not a destination. It's the place where you decide. Do you let it consume you, or do you use it as fuel? Do you let it break you, or do you let it forge you into something stronger? The choice is yours. It's always been yours. And I know it feels impossible. I know it feels like the weight is too much, like the pain is too deep, like the damage is too permanent. But listen to me. You are stronger than you think. You've survived every worst day you thought would destroy you. You've carried the weight of things no one else can see, and you're still standing. You've faced heartbreak, failure, rejection, and yet, here you are. You've gotten stronger, and the weight of existence grows lighter every day. Because eventually a light will come in. It never lasts. You've been walking through fire for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to be whole. But do you know what happens to steel when it's forged in fire? It becomes unbreakable, and that's what you are, unbreakable. This moment, right here, right now, is your turning point. This is the moment you decide whether despair defines you or empowers you. Because let me tell you something. They're not ready for what happens when you rise. They've been waiting for you to stay broken. They've been counting on it. But the second you decide to stand up, to fight back, to stop carrying what was never yours to hold, that's the moment everything changes. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning. Despair may have brought you here, but it doesn't get to keep you here. You're stronger than you know, and they're about to find out. Do you know why they fear you? Why they've spent so much time trying to convince you that you're small, broken, and incapable? It's not because of what you've done. It's not even because of who you are right now. No, their fear runs deeper than that. They fear you because of what you could become. That's the truth they don't want you to see. They fear the day you realize that the power you've been searching for has been inside you all along. Because once you see it, once you claim it, there's no stopping you. You've been looking at yourself through a broken mirror, haven't you? Seeing only the cracks and the distortions, the shattered pieces of who you used to be. But let me tell you something. You're not a broken mirror. You're a mosaic. A masterpiece in the making. pieced together by every struggle you've survived, every scar you carry, and every lesson you've learned along the way. And those scars? They aren't weaknesses, they aren't signs of failure. They're maps. Maps of where you've been. Proof of the battles you've fought and the victories you've earned just by making it through. Think about it. Think of all the times you thought you wouldn't survive. The nights you cried yourself to sleep. The days you felt like giving up. The moments you stood on the edge of despair, staring into the abyss, wondering if you'd ever feel whole again. And yet, here you are. You've faced storms that would have drowned anyone else. You've walked through fires that could have burned you to ash. But you're still standing. Maybe a little bruised, maybe a little scarred, but standing nonetheless. Do you know what that makes you? Resilient. But resilience isn't just about survival. It's about transformation. It's about taking the pain, the fear, the doubt, and using it as fuel to become something greater. Resilience is fuel. Resilience is a fuel, something unstoppable. Pain is a fire. It can destroy you, yes. It can consume you if you let it. But fire can also forge steel. Fire can create strength. Fire can burn away the lies and leave only the truth behind. So the question isn't whether you'll face the fire. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you let it destroy you, or will you let it forge you? Because that's the choice you have, to let the pain define you or to let it refine you, to carry the weight of your struggles like a burden or to wear them like armor. You see, transformation isn't about forgetting your past. It's not about pretending the pain didn't happen. You see, transformation about feeling honored. Transformation is about remembering that you come from the preservation to possibilities. It's about taking everything you've been through and letting it shape you into something stronger, something sharper, something they can't ignore. Do you know what happens when someone like you decides to rise? When someone who's been counted out, underestimated, and overlooked decides they've had enough? The world takes notice. The people who doubted you, who tried to break you, who thought you'd never recover, they start to feel the shift. And they see you as a rising. They see you as something to be reveled in. When I got my first moment of win, they see it in your eyes. The fire, the determination, the refusal to stay small. And make no mistake, they'll try to stop you. They'll try to pull you back down, because your rise is a threat to everything they believe. But here's the thing about rising from the ashes. It's unstoppable. You've already been through the fire. You've already been broken. There's nothing they can do to you now that hasn't already been done. So what's stopping you? Think about the power you hold, the power to rewrite your story, to take everything they tried to use against you and turn it into your greatest weapon, to stand tall and say, I am not defined by my past. I am not limited by my pain. I am more than they ever believed I could be. This is your moment. The moment you stop seeing your scars as weaknesses and start seeing them as proof of your strength. The moment you stop hiding from your pain and start using it as fuel. The moment you stop doubting yourself and start believing in the power that's been inside you all along. It's not going to be easy. Change never is. Rising from the ashes takes the willingness to face the fire one more time. Not to be destroyed by it, but to be reborn through it. But here's the thing. You've already faced worse. You've already survived more than most people could handle. This is just the next step. And when you take that step, when you decide to rise, something incredible happens. You don't just transform yourself. You inspire others. You show them what's possible. You become a light in the darkness, a living testament to the power of resilience. So let me ask you, what's it going to be? Are you going to stay down, letting the weight of your past keep you small? Or are you going to rise? Are you going to take everything they tried to use to break you and use it to build yourself into something they can't touch? Because the day you decide to rise is the day everything changes. It's the day they stop seeing you as a victim and start seeing you as a force to be reckoned with. It's the day you become the version of yourself they always feared you'd become. This is your turning point. This is your moment of The fire is waiting. The choice is yours. What will you do? This is it, the moment everything changes, the moment they'll never forget. Not because of what they did to you, but because of what you became despite them. This is the day they'll remember. The day you stopped shrinking, stopped apologizing, stopped hiding. The day you stood up, not just to them, but to everything they thought they'd buried inside you. The fear, the doubt, the pain. They thought those were chains. But today, you'll show them they were wrong. Do you feel it? That fire burning in your chest, the one you thought had gone out long ago? It's not gone. It never was. It's been waiting. You've been waiting for this moment. For the day you decide that enough is enough. They told you that you were weak. They told you that you were nothing, that you'd never rise, never fight back, never be more than the broken pieces they left behind. But now, they're about to see what happens when someone like you rises from the ashes. Do you hear it? The sound of their voices trembling? What's your response? Do you believe that what we need is you to die? Or have we thrown that away? what you thought was safe, and now it's sharp and it's hurting. They thought they could keep you down, but they never prepared for this. They never prepared for you, because today every scar is now your armor. Every insult is now your battle cry. Every failure is now your weapon. They thought those things would destroy you, but all they did was shape you into something stronger, something sharper, something they can no longer ignore. You're not just surviving anymore, you're becoming the one thing they never thought possible, the one thing they never wanted to face, fearless. Look back for a moment, not to dwell, but to see how far you've come. Look at the path behind you, littered with the obstacles you've overcome, the battles you've fought, the pain you've endured. Each step you took, each time you chose to keep going instead of giving up, has brought you here, to this moment, to this transformation. You're not the same person you were back then, the person they underestimated, the person they broke, the person they tried to keep small. That person is gone. In their place stands someone unshakable, someone undeniable, someone unstoppable. Let me paint the picture for you. Imagine them seeing you now, the way their eyes widen, the way their mouths fall silent. They thought they'd broken you, but here you are, standing taller than ever. They thought they'd silenced you, but your voice rings louder than their lies. They thought they'd erased you, but you're here, more visible, more powerful, more alive than they could have imagined. This isn't just a moment of triumph, it's a reckoning. Because today you aren't just facing them, you're facing everything they represent, the doubt they planted, the fear they nurtured, the pain they inflicted. And you're not just walking away from it, you're walking through it. You're turning it into the fuel that powers your rise. Let me ask you, do you see yourself now? Not the version of you they wanted to see, but the real you, the one who's endured, the one who's risen, the one who's here, standing on the edge of greatness. Because that's who you are now. Greatness in motion. This is the day you stop letting them define you, the day their words lose their power, their actions lose their grip, the day you reclaim everything they tried to take from you. Will you rise, or will you let them win? Look at yourself. Really look. Do you see it yet? The strength in your scars, the fire in your eyes, the power in your presence. They see it. Oh, they see it. And they're terrified. Because today is the day they'll fear. Not because of what they did, but because of what you became. You've turned their doubt into determination, their rejection into resilience, their cruelty into courage. You've taken every stone they threw at you and used it to build a foundation so strong, so unshakable, that nothing and no one can tear it down. And now, as you stand here, with the weight of your past falling away, you have a choice to make. You can step back into the shadows, into the role they wrote for you, or you can step forward into the light, into the story you're writing for yourself. But let me tell you this, if you choose to rise, if you choose to step forward, nothing will ever be the same, because they'll see you for what you really are, a force, a fighter, a survivor, a conqueror. This is the day they'll remember, the day you stopped being afraid and started becoming their greatest fear. So what will it be? Will you let them define you, or will you show them who you really are? The choice is yours, but let me remind you, this fire inside you, it's not just a spark, it's an inferno, and it's time to let it burn. The time for waiting is over. The time for fear is done. This isn't the time to hesitate, to doubt, to hold back. This is your moment. The moment you take everything they thought they knew about you and turn it into dust. No more excuses, no more delays. You've carried the weight of their expectations, their judgments, their doubts for far too long. And now it's time to drop it all and rise. This is your call to action. This is the moment you decide, who are you going to be? Are you going to let fear keep you chained, or are you going to break free? Because here's the truth. They're watching to see if you'll stay down, if you'll keep playing small, if you'll let their voices drown out your own. But what they don't realize is that the person you've become, the person standing here right now, isn't someone who stays silent. You're not someone who surrenders. You are someone who takes action. So how do you start? How do you take this fire burning inside you and turn it into something unstoppable? Let me give you a roadmap. Step 1, confront your fears head on. Fear thrives in the shadows. It grows stronger when you ignore it, when you try to outrun it, when you pretend it's not there. But when you face it, when you shine a light on it, it starts to lose its power. What are you afraid of? Failure, judgment, rejection? Write it down, name it. Look it in the eye and say, you don't own me anymore. Fear isn't a sign of weakness, it's a signal. It tells you where you need to go, what you need. Use it, let it guide you, let it push you, and then take the step that fear is trying to keep you from taking. Because the only way to overcome fear is to move through it. Step 2, reclaim your narrative. For too long, they've written your story for you. They've told you who you are, what you're worth, and what you can or cannot do. But that story, It's a lie. This is your story now. You get to decide who you are. You get to define what you stand for. No one else. So ask yourself, who are you? What do you believe in? What do you want your life to stand for? And then start living that truth. Speak it, act on it. Let every word you say and every choice you make reflect the person you've decided to become. Because when you take back control of your narrative, when you stop letting them define you, you become unstoppable. Step 3, act. Move forward, no matter how small the step. Transformation doesn't happen all at once. It happens one step at a time, one choice at a time, one moment at a time. So take the first step. It doesn't matter how small it is. Maybe it's speaking up when you'd normally stay silent. Maybe it's walking away from something or someone that's been holding you back. Maybe it's finally taking a risk on something you've been dreaming about for years. Whatever it is, do it. Move forward and then take another step and another. Because every step you take, no matter how small, is a step away from who you were and a step closer to who you're meant to be. You're not just transforming yourself, you're transforming everything around you, your energy, your confidence, your strength. It's contagious, it inspires others, it shows them what's possible, and that's what they fear the most. Not just your power, but the way your power ignites others, and they're just as capable of breaking it down. And that's just what they do. Like an optimist, when they grow up, they ultimately look at the hopes that have warmed the hearts of so many, and they shine on their own to what they are, the way your light exposes their shadows. So don't stop, keep going, keep rising, keep proving them wrong. Becoming their greatest fear. They'll call you unstoppable. They'll call you unbreakable, but most of all, they'll call you something they never thought possible, their greatest fear. Because you're not the same person they underestimated. You're not the same person they broke. You're not the same person they tried to silence. Senda the podcast helps you do that, allows you to show up better and grow when life throws curveballs you. Think of the person you want to be, the person they want to be around, and the person they respect the most. Calls on a philosophic old cocktail. You've risen, you've transformed, you've become something they can't ignore, something they can't defeat, something they can't forget. So the question is, what will you do now? Will you keep moving forward? Will you keep rising? Will you keep proving to yourself and to the world that you are more powerful, more resilient, more extraordinary than anyone ever believed? The fire is yours now. The story is yours now. The future is yours now. And they'll remember this day. They'll remember it because it's the day you decided to stop being afraid. The day you chose to stand tall. The day you became something they never wanted you to be. Unstoppable. This is your moment. Take it. And don't ever look back.